I love the Amazing Digital Circus. In fact, I watched it the day of the first episode when it was just 200k views, which makes it no surprise I'm finally doing a video about it. For those of you who don't know, the Amazing Digital Circus is a show following several characters who are trapped after putting on a VR headset and try to stay sane while the AI ringmaster Caine unintentionally tortures them with adventures in an attempt to keep their focus away from escaping. A goal which may or may not even be possible. Should you go mad, of course, the digital body cannot handle it, leading to abstraction, an irreversible process that occurs when you go insane in the circus, resulting in you becoming this glitchy black blob thing full of eyes and making anything that they touch unstable. Though if they inform Caine, then he'll undo the damages and send these giant creatures into what is known as the Cellar. With the point of the show that we're at, we've officially reached what Gooseworks claims is the storm, where things will start going really bad with Caine, of whom is by this point aware of the circus members' dislike of him, aware nobody likes his adventures, and does not know how to handle it. And with abstraction being such a key integral part of the show, something that a massive amount of people have been theorizing on is who, if anyone, is going to abstract next. And we have cases for pretty much everyone. Gangle almost abstracted episode 4, Jax almost abstracted episode 6, Ragatha has been having some issues that she's been sorting out, Kinger has been here for ages and misses his wife, but the one cast member I've barely seen any theories about how they might possibly abstract is Zooble. Now, I should preface with this video in particular with how toxic the Digital Circus fandom be at times. These theories are for fun and are my own interpretation of the media. On these kind of theory videos, I tend to get a lot of comments saying that because I'm overanalyzing the media that I'm ruining it or hurting the creator. So I just wanted to clarify that these theories are less about authorial intent and the word of God, and more about having fun with the ideas presented to us and using the internal logic and weird Easter eggs or repetition to show off another way of interpreting the media. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's talk Zooble. Zooble is a pretty interesting character in the circus. Despite initially seeming to be the token stoic, deadpan snarker, they've in more recent episodes shown themselves to be somewhat of a voice of reason, mentor type figure. A grounding stone that most other characters latch onto, mainly Gangle. Internally, they're dealing with some form of intense dislike of their own body not feeling right. Implied to even be from before the circus as a permanent body or gender dysmorphia, or possibly being an amputee in real life. Point being that their body never feels right to them, and due to Caine's failed attempts at fixing it with a band-aid solution, bled into them having a shorter fuse than the rest, being more willing to tell Caine and sometimes Jax how it is. Caine, although generally meaning well, hates Zooble. In fact, it's one of the few characters Caine generally gets frustrated with consistently, even if his code cuts him off whenever he gets too shouty and in their face. It's been no secret that Zooble may or may not be pushing him over the edge without knowing, as they themselves mention that the only reason Caine doesn't hurt them is because he likes them. And there are a lot of these moments.
Where's Zooble? I made this adventure really cool and mature, just for them.
I would rather not.
That's hilarious.
Crap about the adventures.
Then what is your problem, Zooble? I'm trying my best to remember, but you and my brain won't tell me. Oh yeah, we need to get to the bottom of your behavioral issues.
Is that the one made for me?
There was this awful, horrifying angel head thing, and when we tried to fight back at all, we got sent to hell, and our evil souls tried to infest our bodies. It was bad.
Why did you think I would like that? Well, see you guys when it's over.
Again?
I'm not just gonna be forced into this stupid adventure.
You can shut up now. Oh, Zooble, you mismatched cash piano, I'll tear you to pieces. Constructive criticism would be greatly appreciated. That's it.
You know, you could always try the suggestion box again. I honestly didn't hate the last one we did with her.
You didn't hate it?
I'm not supposed to be hearing you.
Zippy!
What did you even zip up?
On board! Let's go to the next adventure!
You're not even a part of it. I'm the Zooble.
Just popping in to explain this one. Evil Zooble is made to be really dumb because Caine sees Zooble as a know-it-all, and also Zooble is very forgetful, which is a trait that Zooble absolutely grills Caine for having in the therapy scene.
Give me my eye back. Joke's on you. I've already forgotten what you're talking about.
Now I don't have to do the snap summon thing. And I'm glad I found you. Zooble, why does all you do is complaining? I never know what you want!
Sounds a little convoluted.
You look convoluted! Anyway, Jax, why don't you start?
With him? Wait, that's just it? Here's guns and have fun?
I didn't say have fun.
Caine!
Oh, fine! Happy? No, that's not my problem right now.
Also, side note, Zooble doesn't appear on the Character Awards ballot either, despite having won one of the side awards, and a similar exclusion happens in another part with all the cast members in the intermission, them only showing up for this aura farming pause frame part. It's not like Caine dislikes them for no reason either, given on top of being the only one willing to tell Caine that his adventures aren't well liked, Zooble is the only one that outright breaks his rules. Although other characters have sworn or attempted to, Zooble swears at least once in each episode, the only exception being episode 2. Zooble constantly dodges the adventures, and when Caine stops allowing that, they go out of their way to hide from Caine. Despite trying to keep the Digital Circus PG, Zooble makes a reference to sex. Zooble outright tells him that his adventures suck constantly, and of course, like Kinger said, the worst thing you can do in the circus is make someone feel unwanted or loved, which just seeing the difference between Zooble talking with the cast versus talking with Caine, it's pretty clear that he's starting to notice and is feeling unloved. Though we most clearly see this dichotomy between Caine and Zooble in the therapy scene in episode 3. Caine tries to figure out why Zooble goes against him so much, or more specifically, why they avoid their adventures. Zooble again attempts to get out of it, but is immediately prevented, to which we are informed that Zooble has told him countless times, but forgets. That being because Caine is an AI, and as Zooble says to forget it later on, his AI takes it literally, making the situation endlessly repeat.
Forget it.
Forget it?
Just forget it.
Forget what?
The scene, of course, ending with Zooble again saying nobody likes his adventures, and resulting in the biggest glitch breakdown so far, which only stops when Caine's reminded of the adventures again, and then gets back to trying to get to the bottom of their behavioral issues. Now, either way, Caine is shown in episode 6 that he is reaching a breaking point, seeming to start actually internalizing some of the things that Zooble is saying. And that, combined with the fact that it's Zooble who has the strength to say negative things about him, which has been the direct cause of the others having a space to agree and attempt to correct him, Caine is getting less and less family-friendly, going from a candy kingdom to a murder mystery to a murder butcher with human meat on the walls, and with getting less moral too, I wonder if Caine might actually try getting rid of Zooble if given the chance. More specifically, by throwing Zooble into the cellar despite not actually being abstracted yet. In that therapy scene, a core point of what Zooble is saying is that they don't like themselves. And of the few things we know about abstraction is quite literally the absence of self and identity. Quote, I know this is a lot less fun than what everybody's been coming up with, but alas, all abstracted people look the same. The idea is that you get stripped of every bit of individuality you have and become something completely unrecognizable. And that combined with Caine taking the phrase just forget it literally, as well as Caine glitching out and going against his stated goal of keeping the circus members from going insane, if Caine is pushed to the edge or got desperate enough, they might try to solve that literally by trying to get rid of Zooble's self. And given Zooble's been hiding a lot and refuses to take part in his adventures anyways, he may think that people won't notice for a while, only to have extreme guilt and paranoia over it, a la Telltale Heart, as it would have shown that Caine officially will harm those that don't abide by his rules. And even if Caine regrets and undoes it after mass hatred of the decision from the rest of the cast, we know that being touched by an abstracted individual hurts, and that the cellar is filled with abstractions. And on top of that, Zooble can be taken apart. So imagine being torn apart in a pit, beyond glitching out with pain everywhere all at once for like 10 hours. And especially with Zooble knowing how forgetful Caine is, Zooble would probably abstract for reals from that, meaning even if he pulls them out, it might already be too late. Now that all sounds sudden and thrown at the wall, especially given how mentally well put together Zooble is, and given I haven't shown much to connect to Caine with the idea that he'd go as far as throwing them in the cellar, but we actually have quite a lot of foreshadowing parallels for something like this, which is where our evidence lies. First of all, throughout the 6 episodes we've seen, there's been a decent amount of Zooble falling imagery, more than some of the others. In episode 1, Zooble is carried off by the Gloinks into a hole, which of course they had to fall into. In episode 4, Caine throws Zooble down a hatch when he doesn't like what they're saying. Zooble falls from a flower pot thanks to Caine in episode 6, and then falls down a tube with Gangle, though they slide, no falling apart here. And in episode 3, the door that Pomni and Kinger fall into that subsequently has them fall into hell was originally supposed to be Zooble. I don't think I need to tell you, but this all pretty closely parallels Pomni's nightmare in episode 2, where she falls into the cellar, of which, by the way, of the 3 characters to grab her, Zooble is one of them. Another thing that reminds me of this image is later seen in Mildenhall Manor, where we see all the creepy warped heads of all the characters and the angel. Zooble's head is pretty interesting, as here, Zooble's head has a reaching hand in place of an eye, which looks similar to Pomni's desperate reaching hand in the nightmare. With all of this falling imagery, it could be a parallel of having Zooble as a literal fallen angel, namely in that everyone sees them as the single positive driving force, and literally as Zooble, despite replacing their parts every episode, always has some form of angel wing on their left shoulder, with the one exception being episode 6. The episode Gooseworks herself claims is the start of the storm when it comes to the conflict of the series, and being the only episode so far that Zooble happens to switch to a bat or demon wing instead of their usual angel wing. You may also remember that in episode 3, the adventure meant to be for Zooble is primarily composed of the characters running from God's angel, Angel, a creature which can remove its head from its body, a clear nod to Zooble, and which has such blatant parallels to Abstraction that's how we learn about Kinger's backstory regarding Queenie's Abstraction, with the inner mouth filled with these bright lights that look just like them. But before we continue talking about Zooble and the parallels in Mildenhall Manor, I need to tell you about Manta Sleep, the sponsor of today's video. Now, great sleep should be a non-negotiable, and Manta Sleep is here to get you that as a champion of the pro-nap movement, focusing on making top-notch sleep products so that you can get the rest you need to actually feel good when you wake up. Not only are these sleep masks adjustable with a high-quality strap on the back made to fit even your sleepy noggin, as well as removable eye pads to adjust to your exact needs and preferences, they are tailor-made for a high-quality feel however you like to lay. And the best part, they have 100% blackout technology. I even tested it! Here's me with an industrial-grade flashlight, and putting it inside the eye hole, not a drop of light will reach those beautiful, glorious eyes. Just look at that! Though that's not all though, as they also have many sleep accessories such as pillows, nightlights, heating pads, or in my case probably my favorite accessory, the Manta White Noise Machine. I'm someone who can't sleep without noise, but after one night where I tried having YouTube going and got, I counted this by the way, 6 different ads within 20 minutes of a 30-minute video, I completely gave up on using YouTube to sleep. And even if you have like YouTube Premium or something, if you ever decide to use a sleeping app, many of them won't let you pull up a video because it wants to make sure you're actually sleeping and not like scrolling through YouTube Shorts. But neither ads nor apps can prevent a physical product. The Manta Sleep White Noise Machine is easy to set up within seconds, and the best part is you don't even have to have it directly next to you either. Thanks to its Bluetooth controller, you can put it right next to your window to block out all those noisy cars at night. It has 15 different modes and sounds to cater to all sorts of different preferences, from static to fans to rain to the ocean. And unlike some white noise machines, this one's just one click and you're ready to go. So if you want to get better sleep today, then just go to mantasleep.com or use my referral link down in the description and use code CutCafe for 10% off at checkout. That's mantasleep.com, code CutCafe at checkout. Thanks again Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. Now back to the content. Continuing on the Mildenhall train, there's also some photos Pomni finds in Mildenhall Manor that looks pretty similar to Zooble with the multiple thin limbs that seem pull-apartish, and another shortly afterward that looks like a rendition of Abstraction. If you think about this from the lens that this whole mission was meant for Zooble and only Zooble, as Caine originally intended, the story of this adventure is quite literally about how they're a monster and going to hell because they hurt his feelings. That is quite literally what this is! On top of this, Mildenhall Manor would be literally impossible for Zooble to complete should she have actually gone. As for the end section with the souls that possess you if you breathe, you need to hold your breath, which in turn would activate their given quirk. For Zooble, this makes all of her limbs straight, which is something we learn at the start of the episode, which would prevent them from walking, which in turn would prevent them from completing it, period, as they would just be stuck writhing on the floor in a possessed state. The only way she could maybe complete it is cartwheeling across, but they only have one shot at it, so if they fall on their side at any point, then they're done. They don't have access to their box parts to make themselves into a wheel or anything, and one of the parts they had that episode was a zigzaggy arm piece, which if it straightened, would make this arm way longer than the other, again making it impossible to successfully cartwheel, assuming she even tries that. Pomni only got a second chance because Kinger was there and he could detach his hands. So if they actually came to the adventure and abided by the for mature Zooble's only thing, as Kinger only went because Jax threw Gingle's mask and he went to go get it, while Pomni only went because Kinger accidentally dragged her with, neither of them would have gone if given the chance. So if Zooble really did go in as intended, she'd be alone and wouldn't be able to do this. Akin to the photo imagery thing, we can also see more background details like this in the anime section of episode 5, where there are a bunch of Zooble parts showing the Batwing right above an origami abstracted creature. With the Fallen Angel imagery and the like, I think it's only fair that I also bring up the episode 1's Last Supper imagery, something which once episode 2 was released, I haven't heard many people talk about. At the end of episode 1, when Pomni is at the feast with everyone, a lot of people pointed out how similar the scenes look with everyone sitting in a row like this, eating out silver plates, and several food items being the same as the Last Supper image. I've only really seen this brought up to say that if we look at where everyone's sitting, that Ragatha is sitting as Judas, and how that might mean that Ragatha is going to betray Pomni. However, much more interestingly for this discussion, is that taking it a step further, Zooble's seat would match up with Matthew the Apostle, a man who was a tax collector, a job synonymous with the sin of greed, but would later give up his wealth to become one of the 12 apostles and was later honored as a martyr. Now, Zooble isn't greedy. However, if we look at their previous job as a bartender, there are denominations of religion that see alcohol as sinful and embody things like gluttony or lust. And there's a subset of Christians that believe that tattooing is sinful, while Zooble was a tattoo artist in the past.
A bartender and a tattoo artist? You're killing me here, Zooby.
And with what they do for the circus, as the one able to say things straight to Caine, if they die, they'd have been the martyr, just like Matthew. Especially if you think about in-universe, I don't see why Zooble would willingly sit next to Jax like this, given they hate him, states they hate them several times, and is shown to enjoy the company of Gangle, Ragatha, and Kinger significantly more. Something I also noticed is that Zooble's appearance, although based on the Zolo Mix and Match toys, very clearly look a lot like the terrain and environment of the circus itself. They are the person closest to Caine in regards to how he made this world to be visually, compared to the rest of the cast, and despite that is the most against him. On a side note, I also am pretty sure this is a slight nod to how Zooble has to hide from Caine, and their body is pretty much camouflage. Their body is a mishmash of objects, which, given their themes about their body, I would not be surprised if they use them to take a terrifying body horror take in Abstraction, showing the mental horrors that come when your own body fails you. It just feels the most intrinsically matched up with her thematically. Lastly, to end off our foreshadowing discussion, we have the fact this whole thing is based around the book I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, a book about a group of humans trapped by a sentient AI. Though there aren't many direct references to the book, the only exemptions from this have been Caine and Zooble. Caine's most recent glitch out had a reference to the book's cover, Zooble had a joke about not having a mouth when Caine zips her up, and during episode 5, Jax tries to run a pole to turn Zooble into a slug, which is exactly what Ted gets turned into at the end of the book when he's made to suffer endlessly. Seeing we've only got it from these two characters specifically, and the fact that Caine's reference only just happened with him being upset that nobody likes him, I find it weird that nobody else has gotten these jokes other than Zooble, especially given that both of them were specifically referencing aspects that Ted has upon being turned into a slug-like thing forever. Either way though, I think that Zooble and Caine's fighting is going to result in Caine sending Zooble, the very angel holding the cast together, into the cellar early in an attempt to be rid of them, resulting in their abstraction, causing a turning point in which the others truly fear Caine, and marking the point of no return in which Caine is no longer as harmless as they thought. Though even if not this in particular, I do think that we're going to at the very least build up towards Zooble falling in some way, like being martyred or just being poofed out of existence. What are your thoughts? With that, leave your tip at the door, my friends, and like Zooble says,
See you on the flip side.
bye.